In a small, peaceful town surrounded by lush green fields and quiet neighborhoods, life moved at a gentle pace. People knew each other by name, shared meals during festivals, and looked out for one another like an extended family. But on one fateful day, this calm was shattered when the unthinkable happened. Two beloved sisters, Emma and Olivia Grayson, passed away on the very same day. Emma and Olivia were twins, born just minutes apart, and their lives had always been intertwined, in ways that seemed almost magical. From the moment they came into the world, they shared everything: birthdays, secrets, dreams, and even challenges. Growing up, they were inseparable. Whether it was playing hide-and-seek as children, studying late into the night as teenagers, or supporting each other through heartbreaks as adults, the bond between them was unbreakable. Everyone who knew them admired their connection. It was as if they were two halves of the same soul. The news of their deaths spread quickly through the town, leaving everyone stunned. Neighbors gathered outside the Grayson home, whispering in disbelief. How could something so tragic happen? It felt surreal, almost impossible to imagine the vibrant and lively sisters gone. The weight of their loss hung heavy over the community, casting a shadow of sadness that no one could shake off. Emma's story began to unfold first. She had traveled out of town to visit her daughter, Sarah, who lived several states away. Sarah had recently given birth to her first child, and Emma couldn't wait to meet her new grandchild. For weeks she had talked about nothing else: how excited she was to hold the baby, how she planned to bake cookies for Sarah, and how much joy this little addition brought to her life. Her excitement was contagious, and everyone around her could see how happy she was. But what no one knew, not even Emma herself, was that she had been dealing with a hidden health issue. Unbeknownst to her, Emma had an undiagnosed heart condition. On the morning of her passing, she woke up feeling fine, played with her granddaughter, laughed with her daughter, and helped prepare breakfast. Later that afternoon, while sitting in a rocking chair holding the baby, she suddenly collapsed. Despite Sarah's frantic attempts to revive her and the paramedics rushing to the scene, Emma slipped away peacefully, leaving behind a room filled with love and memories. Meanwhile, back in their hometown, Olivia was going about her usual routine. Unlike Emma, who loved traveling and meeting new people, Olivia preferred staying close to home. She found comfort in familiar surroundings: the cozy house she shared with her husband, the garden where she grew roses, and the local cafe where she met friends every Friday morning. That day, Olivia attended a book club meeting, chatted warmly with neighbors, and spent the evening cooking dinner for her husband. Everything seemed normal until bedtime. As Olivia settled into bed, she complained of a slight headache. Thinking it was nothing serious, she took some medicine and turned off the lights. Her husband fell asleep beside her, unaware that something was wrong. In the middle of the night, he woke up to find Olivia unresponsive. Panicked, he called for help, but it was too late. Olivia had suffered a massive stroke, and doctors confirmed that she passed away in her sleep. What made the situation even more heartbreaking was that neither sister knew about the other's condition. They weren't able to say goodbye or share one last conversation. Their sudden and simultaneous deaths left their families reeling, struggling to comprehend how fate could be so cruel. Friends and relatives recalled countless stories of the sisters' closeness, how they finished each other's sentences, celebrated milestones together, and supported each other through thick and thin. Losing both of them on the same day felt like an unbearable blow. As word of their passing spread, the entire town came together to mourn. Social media posts flooded timelines with messages of condolences, photos of the sisters smiling brightly, and anecdotes of their kindness and generosity. Some remembered how Emma always organized charity events, bringing people together for good causes. Others spoke fondly of Olivia's calming presence, her ability to listen without judgment, and her knack for making anyone feel welcome. Despite the overwhelming grief, there was also a sense of awe among those who knew the sisters. Well, many remarked on the eerie coincidence of their deaths occurring on the same day. Was it mere chance, or was there something deeper at play? Some whispered about the mysterious connection between twins, citing old tales and legends about twin flames being bound by destiny. Others dismissed it as a tragic twist of fate, though they couldn't deny the strangeness of it all. For the Grayson family, the pain was indescribable. Parents, siblings, spouses, and children grappled with the reality of losing not one, but two pillars of their family. Conversations revolved around how to honor the sisters' memory and give them the farewell they deserved. Decisions needed to be made about funeral arrangements, obituaries, and personal belongings, yet every task felt monumental under the weight of their loss. Amidst the chaos, a letter surfaced, a final message written jointly by Emma and Olivia. Addressed to their loved ones, the note expressed gratitude for the beautiful lives they had lived and the people who had touched their hearts. But it ended with a peculiar request. When we are laid to rest, please place our hands together. This simple instruction puzzled the family, but they decided to honor it, believing it held special significance for the sisters. And so, as plans for the funeral began to take shape, anticipation built among the townsfolk. What would the service reveal? Would there be any explanation for the strange events surrounding the sisters' deaths? Little did anyone know the most astonishing moment was yet to come, a moment that would leave everyone speechless and forever change how they viewed the bond between Emma and Olivia. Though the tragedy weighed heavily on everyone's hearts, there was also a glimmer of hope. The sisters' lives had been defined by love, laughter, and unwavering support for those around them. As the community prepared to bid them farewell, they vowed to carry forward the legacy of kindness and compassion that Emma and Olivia embodied. Their story was far from over. It was only beginning to unfold in ways no one could have imagined. As the shock of Emma and Olivia's deaths began to settle, people couldn't help but notice the strange parallels between their final days. Though they were miles apart when they passed, their lives seemed to echo each other in ways that defied logic. It was as if an invisible thread connected them, pulling them toward the same fate despite the distance. Emma, who had traveled to visit her daughter Sarah, spent her last hours basking in the joy of becoming a grandmother. She marveled at the tiny fingers and toes of her newborn granddaughter, cradled the baby close to her chest, and shared stories with Sarah about what it was like raising twins. Her laughter filled the room, masking any signs of the health issues brewing beneath the surface. Friends and family later recalled how radiant she looked during those moments, alive with purpose and love. No one suspected that her time was running out. Meanwhile, back home, Olivia went about her day as usual. She woke up early, watered her rose bushes, and baked a batch of her famous blueberry muffins for her husband. At the book club meeting that afternoon, she was her usual cheerful self, offering thoughtful insights into the novel they were discussing and making everyone laugh with her witty remarks. When asked how she was doing, she replied with a smile, "Couldn't be better." It was hard to believe that just hours later she would slip away so suddenly, leaving behind a void no one could have anticipated. What struck people most was how neither sister had shown any outward signs of distress. Emma hadn't complained of chest pain or fatigue, and Olivia hadn't mentioned feeling unwell before going to bed. Their deaths were quiet, almost peaceful, yet profoundly mysterious. As details emerged, friends and relatives pieced together fragments of their final days, searching for answers, but all they found were more questions. Some pointed to the eerie timing of their passing. Emma collapsed in the late afternoon, while Olivia succumbed in the middle of the night. Though separated by hours, their deaths occurred within the same 24-hour period. For many, this coincidence felt too uncanny to ignore. People whispered about the bond between twins, referencing old myths and scientific studies suggesting that twins often share an inexplicable connection. Could it be possible that Emma and Olivia somehow sensed each other's decline, even though they were far apart? Others dismissed these ideas as mere speculation, attributing the timing to chance. After all, both sisters were in their late 60s, a stage of life where health risks naturally increase. Still, the idea of them leaving the world together lingered in everyone's minds, sparking conversations that ranged from sentimental to philosophical. Was there something greater at play? Or was it simply a cruel twist of fate? The mystery deepened when family members discovered a letter written jointly by Emma and Olivia. The note, tucked inside a keepsake box in Olivia's home, was addressed to their loved ones. In it, the sisters expressed gratitude for the beautiful lives they had, lived, and thanked everyone who had been part of their journey. They spoke of their hopes for the future, urging their children and grandchildren to live with courage, kindness, and resilience. But the letter ended with a peculiar request. When we are laid to rest, please place our hands together. This instruction baffled the family. Why would the sisters ask for such a specific detail in their final moments? Had they discussed this beforehand? If so, when and why? These questions swirled in everyone's minds as they debated its meaning. Some believed it was symbolic, representing the unbreakable bond they shared throughout their lives. Others wondered if it held a deeper significance, perhaps tied to their spiritual beliefs or personal rituals. Whatever the reason, the family decided to honor their wishes, trusting that the sisters knew something the rest of them didn't. As word of the letter spread, curiosity grew among the townspeople. Many who had known Emma and Olivia personally couldn't help but reflect on their relationship. From childhood, the sisters had always been inseparable, finishing each other's sentences and sharing an unspoken understanding that no one else could penetrate. Even as adults, they remained deeply connected, supporting each other through every milestone and challenge. Whether it was celebrating birthdays, navigating career changes, or coping with loss, they faced life side by side, drawing strength from their bond. Their closeness wasn't limited to major events, it extended to everyday moments too. Neighbors remembered seeing them take evening walks together, arms linked, chatting animatedly about everything under the sun. At family gatherings, they were inseparable, sitting next to each other and exchanging knowing glances whenever someone told a funny story. Even their quirks complemented one another. Emma's outgoing nature balanced Olivia's quieter demeanor, creating a harmonious partnership that inspired admiration. Now, as the community prepared to say goodbye, memories of their friendship flooded conversations. Stories poured in from every corner. How Emma once organized a surprise party for Olivia's 40th birthday, complete with decorations, music, and a slideshow of their favorite childhood photos. How Olivia, in turn, helped Emma through a difficult divorce, staying by her side day and night until she found her footing again. These anecdotes painted a vivid picture of two women whose lives were intertwined in ways that transcended ordinary sibling relationships. But amid the nostalgia, there was also a sense of awe. People couldn't shake the feeling that Emma and Olivia's deaths were more than just a tragic coincidence. Some speculated that their bond was so strong it transcended physical boundaries, allowing them to sense each other's presence even in death. Others suggested that their simultaneous passing might have been predestined, as if the universe itself recognized their unity and ensured they wouldn't be parted. For the Grayson family, these thoughts brought both comfort and confusion. On one hand, they found solace in the idea that Emma and Olivia weren't alone in their final moments, that somehow they had each other, even if only in spirit. On the other hand, the uncertainty weighed heavily on them. What did it mean to lose two beloved sisters on the same day? And why had they left behind such a cryptic request? As preparations for the funeral continued, emotions ran high. Family members worked tirelessly to create a service that honored the sisters' unique personalities and celebrated their extraordinary bond. Photographs were collected, eulogies were drafted, and arrangements were made to fulfill their final wish. Despite the grief, there was a determination to give Emma and Olivia the send-off they deserved, one that reflected the beauty of their lives and the depth of their connection. Behind the scenes, however, whispers of anticipation began to circulate. Everyone wondered what would happen when the sisters' hands were placed together, as per their request. Would it be a symbolic gesture, a way to bring closure to their loved ones? Or would something unexpected occur, revealing a glimpse of the mysterious bond that had defined their lives? As the day of the funeral approached, excitement mingled with sorrow, creating an atmosphere charged with emotion and intrigue. Though the tragedy cast a long shadow over the town, it also sparked reflection. People found themselves thinking about their own relationships, the bonds they cherished, the connections they took for granted, and the fleeting nature of life itself. Emma and Olivia's story served as a poignant reminder of how fragile yet precious our time on Earth is. Their legacy wasn't just one of love and unity. It was also a call to appreciate the people we hold dear while we still have them, and so as the community braced itself for the funeral, they did so with mixed feelings. Grief for the loss of two remarkable women, gratitude for the impact they had made, and curiosity about what the future might hold. Little did they know, the most unforgettable moment was yet to come, a moment that would leave an indelible mark on everyone present and solidify Emma and Olivia's place in the hearts of those who loved them forever. Planning the funeral for Emma and Olivia Grayson was no ordinary task. It wasn't just about organizing a ceremony. It was about honoring two extraordinary lives that had touched countless others. The family knew they needed to create something special, something that reflected not only who Emma and Olivia were as individuals, but also celebrated the unbreakable bond they shared. This meant bringing together two very different worlds: the bustling city where Emma spent her final days and the quiet hometown where Olivia lived, and making sure both felt equally represented. The decision to hold a joint service came after much discussion among the family members. At first, some worried it might feel overwhelming or too emotional to combine everything into one event. But as they thought more deeply about it, they realized it was exactly what Emma and Olivia would have wanted. After all, the sisters had never been apart in life, so why should their farewell be any different? The idea of laying them to rest, side by side, brought a sense of comfort, even amidst the heartache. Once the decision was made, the planning kicked into high gear. Friends and relatives from across the country began arriving in droves, eager to pay their respects. The small town buzzed with activity as hotels filled up, restaurants welcomed familiar faces, and local florists worked overtime to prepare arrangements. People who hadn't seen each other in years reunited under somber circumstances, sharing stories and memories of the sisters while marveling at how much they were still loved. One of the first challenges was deciding on the venue. The family debated between holding the service at a church, which would allow for a traditional and spiritual atmosphere, or opting for something simpler like the town hall, where many community events had taken place over the years. In the end, they chose the local cemetery chapel, a quaint yet intimate space surrounded by trees and flowers. It was close to nature, peaceful, and perfectly suited to the personalities of both sisters. For Emma, who loved adventure and meeting new people, it provided a serene backdrop. And for Olivia, whose life revolved around home and family, it felt like a natural extension of her world. Next came the daunting task of collecting photographs and mementos to display during the service. Family albums were dusted off, old boxes were rummaged through, and digital archives were scoured for images that captured the essence of Emma and Olivia's lives. What emerged was a visual timeline spanning decades: baby pictures showing the twins bundled together in identical blankets, school portraits capturing their youthful energy, wedding photos highlighting their radiant smiles, and recent snapshots showcasing their roles as mothers, grandmothers, and friends. Each photo told a story, and together, they painted a vivid picture of two women whose lives were rich with love, laughter, and purpose. To enhance the display, the family decided to include handwritten notes, favorite quotes, and small personal items that belonged to the sisters. A pair of gardening gloves symbolized Olivia's passion for nurturing plants, while a recipe card, written in Emma's handwriting, represented her talent for cooking and hosting gatherings. These touches added a layer of intimacy, allowing guests to connect with the sisters on a deeper level. Music played an important role in setting the tone for the service. The family carefully selected songs that reflected the sisters' personalities and interests. For Emma, who had a flair for drama and loved Broadway musicals, they included classic tunes like "You'll Never Walk Alone" and "Sunrise Sunset." For Olivia, whose tastes leaned towards soft, reflective melodies, they chose hymns such as "Amazing Grace" and "How Great Thou Art." There was even a moment dedicated to their shared love of laughter. A light-hearted song chosen by their grandchildren brought tears to everyone's eyes, not because it was sad, but because it reminded them of the joy the sisters brought into their lives. Eulogies were another critical element of the planning process. Writing them proved to be both cathartic and challenging for those tasked with the responsibility. Sarah, Emma's daughter, struggled to put her feelings into words. How could she possibly summarize a lifetime of love and guidance in just a few minutes? Eventually, she settled on focusing on her mother's strength and generosity, recounting stories of how Emma always went out of her way to help others, whether it was volunteering at the local shelter or simply lending an ear to someone in need. On the other hand, Olivia's husband Mark approached his eulogy differently. He spoke candidly about the little things that made Olivia unique, the way she hummed while doing chores, her uncanny ability to remember birthdays and anniversaries, and her unwavering support during tough times. His speech was heartfelt and raw, leaving not a dry eye in the room as he described the void left by her absence. As the day of the funeral drew closer, attention turned to fulfilling the sisters' final request, placing their hands together. The family consulted with the funeral director to ensure this could be done respectfully and seamlessly. They also coordinated with the pallbearers, instructing them on how to position the caskets so that the gesture would appear natural and meaningful. Though the exact reason behind the request remained unclear, everyone agreed it deserved careful execution. To make the moment even more poignant, the family decided to incorporate a symbolic act during the graveside portion of the service. Each attendee would be given a white rose, a flower often associated with purity and remembrance, and invited to place it near the caskets as a token of love and gratitude. This idea resonated deeply with the community, as it allowed everyone to participate in saying goodbye while creating a beautiful visual tribute to the sisters. Behind the scenes, preparations extended beyond the logistics of the service itself. Neighbors pitched in to assist the family however they could, whether it was preparing meals, running errands, or simply offering a listening ear. Local businesses stepped up as well, donating flowers, refreshments, and transportation services to ease the burden on the grieving family. It was a testament to the impact Emma and Olivia had on those around them. Even in death, their presence continued to inspire kindness and unity. Despite the sadness hanging over the town, there was also a sense of anticipation. People talked endlessly about the upcoming service, speculating about what it might reveal. Some wondered if the sisters' final wish held hidden meaning, while others hoped the event would provide closure and healing. Whatever the outcome, everyone agreed that the funeral would be unlike anything they had experienced before. In the days leading up to the ceremony, the air seemed charged with emotion. Conversations shifted between reminiscing about happy memories and grappling with the reality of loss. Children played quietly outside, sensing the heaviness in the adults around them. Even the weather seemed to mirror the mood. Cloudy skies lingered overhead, casting a soft gray hue over the landscape. Yet amid the gloom, there was a flicker of hope. People clung to the belief that Emma and Olivia's legacy would endure, carried forward by the love they inspired in others. Finally, the morning of the funeral arrived. As dawn broke, volunteers gathered at the cemetery to set up chairs, arrange flowers, and lay out programs detailing the order of events. By mid-morning, cars began lining the narrow roads leading to the chapel, spilling onto nearby fields as visitors arrived in droves. Hundreds of people, family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, and acquaintances came together under umbrellas, united in mourning yet comforted by the knowledge that they weren't alone in their grief. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, a hush fell over the crowd. Everyone took their seats, clutching tissues and exchanging nervous glances. No one knew exactly what to expect, but they braced themselves for an emotional journey, one that promised to honor the memory of two remarkable women while leaving an indelible mark on their hearts. Little did they know, the most unforgettable moment was still to come, waiting patiently to unfold beneath the watchful eyes of those who loved Emma and Olivia most. As the funeral service began, a solemn silence enveloped the cemetery chapel. Hundreds of people sat shoulder to shoulder, their faces etched with grief and anticipation. The air was thick with emotion. Tears mingled with whispered prayers, and the faint rustle of fabric echoed as attendees adjusted in their seats. At the front of the gathering, two caskets rested side by side, adorned with wreaths of white roses that seemed to glow softly against the muted tones of the room. Everything had been arranged meticulously down to the smallest detail, but all eyes were drawn to one particular request: the sisters' final wish to have their hands placed together. The letter containing this instruction had sparked endless speculation among family members and friends. Why would Emma and Olivia make such a specific request? Was it symbolic, a gesture meant to signify their eternal bond? Or did it hold deeper meaning, perhaps tied to beliefs or traditions only they understood? These questions lingered unanswered, yet the family decided to honor the twins' wishes. Without hesitation, they trusted that Emma and Olivia knew something no one else did, and fulfilling this act felt like a way to stay connected to them in their final moments. The ceremony itself unfolded with grace and reverence. A soft piano melody filled the space as loved ones stepped forward to share eulogies, each word painting a vivid portrait of the sisters' lives. Sarah, Emma's daughter, spoke first, her voice trembling but steady as she recounted stories of her mother's boundless energy and generosity. She described how Emma could light up any room with her laughter, how she always made time for others despite her busy schedule, and how proud she was to call her Mom. Her words resonated deeply, drawing quiet sobs from those seated nearby. Next came Mark, Olivia's husband, whose speech brought a different kind of warmth to the proceedings. He spoke of his wife's gentle spirit, her unwavering patience, and the countless ways she enriched his life. His tone shifted slightly when he shared lighter anecdotes, how Olivia insisted on naming every plant in her garden, or how she once accidentally dyed her hair blue while trying a new home remedy. These moments elicited soft chuckles from the audience, providing brief relief from the weight of sorrow. Between the heartfelt tributes, hymns were sung and passages were read aloud. Each element of the service was designed to reflect the sisters' personalities, blending joy and reflection in equal measure. Yet, even as the ceremony progressed, there was an undercurrent of anticipation. Everyone knew what was coming next, the moment when Emma and Olivia's hands would be joined, and it hung in the air like an unspoken promise. Finally, the time arrived. As the officiant invited close family members to come forward for a final farewell, the atmosphere shifted. Relatives approached the casket slowly, their steps heavy with emotion. Some reached out to touch the polished wood, whispering private goodbyes, while others simply stood there, overwhelmed by the gravity of the moment. Then, with careful precision, the pallbearers gently lifted the lids of the caskets, revealing the sisters lying peacefully within. Emma and Olivia looked serene, almost as if they were sleeping. Their faces bore expressions of calm, untouched by the pain and uncertainty that had marked their final days. Family members exchanged glances, silently marveling at how similar they still appeared, even in death. It was a poignant reminder of the bond they shared, a connection so strong that not even mortality could sever it. With great care, the undertaker leaned over the caskets and took Emma's hand in one gloved palm and Olivia's in the other. For a brief moment, the entire crowd held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Then, with deliberate tenderness, he clasped their hands together, ensuring their fingers intertwined perfectly. The gesture was simple, yet profoundly moving, evoking a collective gasp from the audience. Friends and relatives pressed their hands to their mouths, tears streaming down their cheeks as they watched the fulfillment of the sisters' final request. But then something extraordinary occurred, something no one could have anticipated. As Emma and Olivia's hands touched, a soft glow began to emanate from beneath the fabric covering their bodies. It wasn't harsh or blinding. Rather, it was warm and golden, pulsating faintly like sunlight breaking through clouds. Witnesses later struggled to describe it accurately, but many likened it to a radiant aura that seemed to envelop the sisters momentarily before fading away. For a few seconds, the chapel fell completely silent. Even the birds outside ceased their chirping, as though nature itself paused to witness the phenomenon. People stared in awe, unsure whether to believe their eyes. Was it a trick of the light? A reflection from somewhere in the room? Or was it something more? Something beyond explanation? The glow lasted only briefly, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared, yet its impact lingered long after it vanished. Attendees exchanged bewildered looks, their faces pale with shock. Some crossed themselves or whispered prayers, seeking solace in faith. Others simply sat frozen, unable to process what they had just seen. Despite the confusion, there was a shared understanding that they had witnessed something extraordinary, a moment that transcended logic and defied rational explanation. As the initial wave of astonishment subsided, a profound sense of peace washed over the gathering. Many attendees reported feeling an inexplicable calm, as though the glow carried with it a message of reassurance. It was as if Emma and Olivia were saying goodbye, not with words, but with a tangible sign that they were at peace, reunited in a way that surpassed earthly limitations. The heaviness of grief lifted slightly, replaced by a quiet acceptance and gratitude for having known them. Family members who had been skeptical about the significance of the sisters' final wish now found themselves grappling with a mix of emotions. There was sadness, yes, but also wonder and awe. Had Emma and Olivia known something the rest of them didn't? Was their bond truly so powerful that it manifested in such a miraculous way? These questions swirled in everyone's minds, sparking conversations that would continue for weeks, months, and even years to come. After the glow faded, the service resumed, though the mood had shifted noticeably. What had started as a somber occasion transformed into something almost sacred, a celebration of love, unity, and the mysteries of life itself. People left the chapel with hearts full of conflicting emotions: sorrow for the loss of two beloved women, amazement at the inexplicable event they had witnessed, and hope inspired by the enduring legacy of Emma and Olivia's bond. Outside, rain began to fall lightly, drizzling over the gravesite where the caskets were lowered into the ground. Guests placed their white roses atop the caskets, creating a sea of blooms that shimmered faintly in the damp air. The symbolism was undeniable. The flowers represented not just remembrance but renewal and the promise of new beginnings. As the last rose was laid, a rainbow appeared on the horizon, arching gracefully across the sky. To many, it felt like a sign, a reassurance that Emma and Olivia's spirits lived on, watching over their loved ones from afar. In the days following the funeral, talk of the glowing phenomenon spread far beyond the town. Local newspapers ran stories about the mysterious event, quoting witnesses and speculating about its origins. Some dismissed it as coincidence or imagination, attributing it to lighting conditions or human error. But those who had been present knew better. They couldn't explain it logically, nor did they try. Instead, they embraced it as part of the sisters' story, a testament to the power of love and the unbreakable ties that bind us. For the Grayson family, the experience served as both comfort and inspiration. Though the pain of losing Emma and Olivia remained, they found solace in knowing that the sisters' bond endured, transcending even death itself. And as they moved forward, carrying the lessons and memories of their loved ones, they vowed to honor that legacy, not just through words, but through actions. Emma and Olivia's story became a beacon of hope, reminding everyone who heard it that love is the strongest force of all. The day of the funeral dawned gray and overcast, with clouds hanging low in the sky as if mirroring the somber mood that enveloped the town. A light drizzle began to fall just as the first guests arrived at the cemetery, dotting their umbrellas and coats with tiny droplets of rain. Despite the dreary weather, hundreds of people gathered to pay their respects, united by shared grief and a deep appreciation for the lives of Emma and Olivia Grayson. The turnout was overwhelming. Family members, friends, neighbors, colleagues, and even acquaintances came together under the gloomy skies, standing shoulder to shoulder as they prepared to say goodbye. As attendees made their way toward the gravesite, they walked along a path lined with photographs of the sisters. Each image told a story. Emma laughing at a family picnic, Olivia tending to her rose garden, the two of them arm in arm during happier times. Some pictures were recent, capturing moments from birthdays and holidays, while others were faded Polaroids, showing the twins as children, teenagers, and young adults. Together, these snapshots formed a visual timeline of two extraordinary lives intertwined, a testament to decades of love, laughter, and resilience. The gravesite itself was simple, yet elegant, surrounded by lush green grass and framed by towering oak trees whose branches swayed gently in the breeze. Two caskets rested side by side, draped in white satin and adorned with wreaths of fresh flowers. White roses dominated the arrangements, symbolizing purity, remembrance, and the enduring bond between the sisters. Family members had spent hours, carefully selecting the blooms, ensuring every petal conveyed the depth of their affection and gratitude for Emma and Olivia's presence in their lives. As people took their seats on folding chairs arranged in neat rows, the air grew heavy with emotion. Conversations hushed to murmurs, and the occasional sniffle could be heard above the patter of raindrops hitting umbrellas. Many clutched tissues in trembling hands, bracing themselves for the emotional journey ahead. Children sat quietly beside their parents, sensing the weight of the moment even if they didn't fully understand it. Everyone knew this wasn't just any funeral. It was a farewell to two remarkable women whose absence left an irreplaceable void. The officiant, a kind-faced man named Reverend Thomas, stepped forward to begin the service. His voice carried warmth and compassion as he welcomed everyone and expressed condolences on behalf of the community. "Today," he said softly, "we gather not only to mourn but also to celebrate the lives of Emma and Olivia Grayson, two souls who brought light, love, and joy into our world." His words resonated deeply, drawing nods of agreement and quiet sobs from those seated before him. Throughout the ceremony, loved ones took turns sharing memories of the sisters. Sarah, Emma's daughter, spoke first, her voice quivering but determined, as she recounted stories of her mother's boundless energy and selflessness. She described how Emma always went out of her way to help others, whether it was organizing charity events, baking cookies for neighbors, or simply offering a listening ear when someone needed support. "My mom taught me what it means to live with purpose," Sarah said, choking back tears. "She showed me that kindness isn't just something you do, it's who you are." Mark, Olivia's husband, followed next, his speech tinged with both sadness and fondness. He painted a picture of his wife as a woman of quiet strength, unwavering patience, and endless generosity. "Olivia had this incredible ability to make anyone feel seen and valued," he explained. "Whether it was remembering your birthday or knowing exactly what to say when you were having a tough day, she had a way of making life better for everyone around her." His anecdotes about Olivia's quirks, like her habit of humming while cooking or her insistence on naming every plant in her garden, elicited soft chuckles from the audience, providing brief moments of levity amidst the sorrow. Between the eulogies, hymns were sung and prayers were offered, each note and word chosen to reflect the sisters' personalities and values. For Emma, who loved adventure and music, upbeat melodies filled the air, lifting spirits momentarily. For Olivia, whose faith ran deep, traditional hymns provided comfort and solace. The combination created a harmonious blend of celebration and reflection, honoring both sides of the twins' identities. Yet, despite the beauty of the service, there was an unmistakable tension in the air. Everyone knew what was coming: the fulfillment of Emma and Olivia's final wish, and anticipation crackled like electricity. As the officiant announced that it was time for the family to approach the caskets for a final farewell, a collective hush fell over the crowd. Relatives rose from their seats and moved forward slowly, their steps weighted with emotion. Some reached out to touch the polished wood of the caskets, whispering private goodbyes, while others simply stood there, overcome by the enormity of the moment. When the pallbearers gently lifted the lids of the caskets, revealing the sisters lying peacefully within, a wave of gasps rippled through the gathering. Emma and Olivia looked serene, almost as if they were sleeping. Their faces bore expressions of calm, untouched by the pain and uncertainty that had marked their final days. It was impossible not to notice how similar they still appeared, even in death. Their resemblance was uncanny. Family members exchanged glances, silently marveling at the bond that seemed to transcend mortality itself. With great care, the undertaker leaned over the caskets, and took Emma's hand in one gloved palm and Olivia's in the other. For a brief moment, the entire crowd held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Then, with deliberate tenderness, he clasped their hands together, ensuring their fingers intertwined perfectly. The gesture was simple, yet profoundly moving, evoking a collective gasp from the audience. Friends and relatives pressed their hands to their mouths, tears streaming down their cheeks as they watched the fulfillment of the sisters' final request. But then, something extraordinary occurred, something no one could have anticipated. As Emma and Olivia's hands touched, a soft glow began to emanate from beneath the fabric covering their bodies. It wasn't harsh or blinding. Rather, it was warm and golden, pulsating faintly like sunlight breaking through clouds. Witnesses later struggled to describe it accurately, but many likened it to a radiant aura that seemed to envelop the sisters momentarily before fading away. For a few seconds, the chapel fell completely silent. Even the birds outside ceased their chirping, as though nature itself paused to witness the phenomenon. People stared in awe, unsure whether to believe their eyes. Was it a trick of the light? A reflection from somewhere in the room? Or was it something more, something beyond explanation? The glow lasted only briefly, disappearing as quickly as it had appeared. Yet its impact lingered long after it vanished. Attendees exchanged bewildered looks, their faces pale with shock. Some crossed themselves or whispered prayers, seeking solace in faith. Others simply sat frozen, unable to process what they had just seen. Despite the confusion, there was a shared understanding that they had witnessed something extraordinary, a moment that transcended logic and defied rational explanation. As the initial wave of astonishment subsided, a profound sense of peace washed over the gathering. Many attendees reported feeling an inexplicable calm, as though the glow carried with it a message of reassurance. It was as if Emma and Olivia were saying goodbye, not with words, but with a tangible sign that they were at peace, reunited in a way that surpassed earthly limitations. The heaviness of grief lifted slightly, replaced by a quiet acceptance and gratitude for having known them. Family members who had been skeptical about the significance of the sisters' final wish now found themselves grappling with a mix of emotions. There was sadness, yes, but also wonder and awe. Had Emma and Olivia known something the rest of them didn't? Was their bond truly so powerful that it manifested in such a miraculous way? These questions swirled in everyone's minds, sparking conversations that would continue for weeks, months, and even years to come. After the glow faded, the service resumed, though the mood had shifted noticeably. What had started as a somber occasion transformed into something almost sacred, a celebration of love, unity, and the mysteries of life itself. People left the chapel with hearts full of conflicting emotions: sorrow for the loss of two beloved women, amazement at the inexplicable event they had witnessed, and hope inspired by the enduring legacy of Emma and Olivia's bond. Outside, rain continued to fall lightly, drizzling over the gravesite where the caskets were lowered into the ground. Guests placed their white roses atop the caskets, creating a sea of blooms that shimmered faintly in the damp air. The symbolism was undeniable. The flowers represented not just remembrance, but renewal and the promise of new beginnings. As the last rose was laid, a rainbow appeared on the horizon, arching gracefully across the sky. To many, it felt like a sign, a reassurance that Emma and Olivia's spirits lived on, watching over their loved ones from afar. In the days following the funeral, talk of the glowing phenomenon spread far beyond the town. Local newspapers ran stories about the mysterious event, quoting witnesses and speculating about its origins. Some dismissed it as coincidence or imagination, attributing it to lighting conditions or human error. But those who had been present knew better. They couldn't explain it logically,